It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update as Tony Khan confirms AEW's interest in Kevin Owens, a released WWE Superstar is set for a World Championship match, and there was a huge debut on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. In yesterday's video, we discussed a recent PW Insider report that a number of WWE talents and staff were feeling run down coming out of this past weekend's loop of live events and TV tapings, and some had since tested positive for COVID-19. On top of this, it was said that others were feeling sick but were still waiting for their test results. In an update report from PW Insider, it has been revealed that more talent and staff have tested positive, although the identities of the individuals are still unknown. According to the report, WWE still expects to move forward with all United States live events next week, but there has been a lot of calls and a lot of running around. According to one source, WWE are trying to stay ahead of the situation as they receive additional details on talents and staff who may not be cleared to travel in the weekend. It's said that if worst comes to worst, they will simply fill the undercard matches with NXT talent if required. And lastly, it has also been confirmed that next week's house show in Laval, Quebec, Canada has been cancelled due to local restrictions in the province. The Toronto show is still scheduled to take place, although this could change in the coming days. But as mentioned, all United States shows are currently scheduled to continue as planned. Last night, AEW would hold their Dynamite Holiday Special from Greensboro, North Carolina, where there was an incident that led to a fan being ejected from the building. The fan in question would be seen sitting in the second row and would hold up a transphobic sign during the entrance of Nyla Rose. The sign would read, "Nyla Rose is this guy's dad," with an arrow pointing to his left, something which Rose would notice during her entrance. She would simply give the fan the middle finger, although she didn't appear to be rattled during the match. According to fan reports on Twitter, security would speak with the fan telling them to take the sign down, and he would later be removed from the building, reportedly during the main event of the show. This after the fan had removed his hoodie as to make himself harder to find. As for the match itself, Nyla would find herself on the losing end of a Ruby Soho pinfall, with the runaway advancing to the finals of the AEW TBS title tournament, and will battle either Thunder Rosa or Jade Cargill, a match that will air this Friday on AEW Rampage. The final itself will be held on the first TBS episode of AEW Dynamite on January 5th, 2022. And speaking of the January 5th episode of Dynamite, we will also see the AEW World Championship on the line. Last night's episode of Dynamite would see the back and forth promo between champion Hangman Page and the number one contender Bryan Danielson, where it was confirmed that the two will meet for the second time next month. This follows their recent title match last week, which ended in a time limit draw, meaning that Hangman would retain. In order to avoid this happening next time around, there will be judges in place who will decide the winner should the match end in a time limit, something that is seen in both boxing and MMA. It's currently unknown who the judges will be at this point, although it's likely to be legends of the wrestling business. This isn't the first time we've seen judges in an AEW World title match, as this is something that we did see at the Full Gear 2019 pay-per-view in the match between then champion Chris Jericho and the challenger Cody Rhodes. The judges for that one were Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko and Keiji Muto, although the match did end by technical submission after MJF threw in the towel for Cody, meaning the judges weren't needed in the end. This week, AEW President Tony Khan would appear in an interview with Shaq Wrestling on YouTube, where he discussed the year AEW has had in 2021. One of the topics that was brought up was a recent report from Andrew Zarian, which states that WWE, Fox, and the USA Network have heavy interest in one of AEW's key assets, MJF, whose deal expires in 2024. Khan would welcome any speculation surrounding the matter, saying that it only helps create buzz around one of their up-and-coming stars, and Khan would say, "I encourage that. I think they should keep talking about him because he's a wrestler that's a big part of AEW and is signed here for a few more years. So I think please keep giving us that buzz because he's been getting great ratings for his segments, and those have also been featuring CM Punk pretty regularly as they continue to interact." As of now, MJF is in the midst of a deeply personal feud with CM Punk, with both men sharing a ring with each other last night on the AEW Dynamite Holiday Bash special, this being in a 6-man tag. MJF would successfully avoid any physical interaction with his foe, adding anticipation for when Punk finally gets his hands on him. In terms of his contract, MJF will remain with the company for a minimum of 2 more years, although he has suggested that he is open for a move to WWE, citing a future bidding war between the United States' 2 top wrestling organizations in 2024. And speaking of the Tony Khan Shaq Wrestling interview, Khan would also discuss a speculated movement the other direction, this after recent talk that Kevin Owens would be AEW bound in the new year. As we know, Owens was set to become a free agent at the end of January 2022, although he would eventually re-sign with WWE earlier in the month for a reported $2 to $3 million a year. Khan was asked if a move for the prize fighter was something that would have interested him, and Tony would respond, "I would have been interested in that, he's a great wrestler. I think he ended up signing for what I believe is probably a lot of money. I think that's great and good for him. We have a lot of people spotlighted here and he's great. Any company he goes to, he'll be a great wrestler for them." Despite the Canadian signing on the dotted line for WWE, with his deal now expected to expire in January 2025, we all know that WWE contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on, with the company never shy to cut them short at a moment's notice, as we've seen multiple times over the past couple of years. A recent report from Fightful suggested that AEW would be interested in Owens, with them still open to discuss terms with him should he become available in the future, something that was seemingly confirmed in this interview. Next up, the next contender for Hijo del Vikingo's AAA Mega Championship has been revealed, with him set to take on a recently released WWE Superstar. AAA have confirmed that Vikingo will take on the challenge of John Morrison, this in February at the Rey de Reyes event. The announcement was made during a press conference, with Morrison appearing in a video package, where he claimed that Vikingo won the title by defeating children, rather than beating Kenny Omega due to him being forced to vacate the title. This will be Morrison's first appearance in AAA since 2018, before he re-signed with WWE in 2019. Morrison is currently being billed under his real name of John Hennigan, although he has previously wrestled in the promotion as Johnny Mundo, the name he used in Lucha Underground. This will be Vikingo's second AAA Mega title defense since defeating Bandido, Bobby Fish, Jay Lethal and Samurai Del Sol earlier this month at Triplemania Regia for the vacant belt. And finally, last night's AEW Dynamite would see a huge debut, with the popular NXT stable reuniting in All Elite Wrestling. To open the show, Adam Cole would take on Orange Cassidy in singles action, and at the match's conclusion, Cole's friend Bobby Fish would come to the ring to distract the referee, before the debuting Kyle O'Reilly snuck in behind Cassidy, taking him out with a combination of strikes, with Cole finishing him off with a knee to the back of the head. This would help him score the 1-2-3. The original Undisputed Era trio would then fight off Cassidy's best friend's stable, before Cole's friends in the Elite, the Young Bucks, would come to the ring, looking confused at O'Reilly's arrival. A tease of a split would then happen, with Adam Cole choosing to leave the ring with Fish and O'Reilly. This seems to be the payoff from last week's tease of Cole giving the Bucks the best Christmas present they could ever ask for, although they didn't look too pleased. This seems to be setting up a potential feud between the Elite and the Undisputed Era somewhere down the line, although there will likely be a slow build towards it, with Cole trying to convince the Bucks to get on board before one of the sides turns on the other. Maybe this could set up the return of Kenny Omega joining up with the Bucks to take on Adam Cole and Red Dragon. O'Reilly would take to Twitter after the show to address the appearance, expressing his gratitude to his fans and AEW president Tony Khan, and he would say, "Life is crazy, and I'm very grateful that my professional wrestling abilities have taken me to a new frontier in which to explore my ass-kicking ways. Proud to be a part of AEW, and thanks to Tony Khan for the opportunity. If you're a fan of mine from elsewhere, I hope you continue to support me. If you're new to KOR, prepare to see a man that pours his effing soul into that ring every night and has an unquenchable thirst for cans of whoop-ass." Kyle would then confirm that he will once again team with Red Dragon teammate Bobby Fish in the tag division, with him saying, "Also, Red Dragon is back." The signing would then be confirmed by Tony Khan himself, posting a graphic to Twitter which read, "Kyle O'Reilly is all elite. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss 10 wrestlers that would be perfect members of the Elite.